The honourable member for Tangney.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My question is to the Minister for Education. I remind the Minister of the $1.2 billion in school funding cut from the pre-election fiscal and economic outlook by the previous government that was earmarked for Queensland, the Northern Territory and my state of Western Australia. What would the impact of this cut have been, and what has the government done to ensure all states and territories receive additional schools funding?
I call the Honourable Minister for Education.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker, and I thank the member for Tangney for reminding the House that the Leader of the Opposition, when he was the Minister for Education, planned to cut $1.2 billion from Western Australia, Queensland and the Northern Territory in schools funding, so that the Coalition's funding promise was that we would put $2.8 billion into schools funding over the forward estimates, and Labor's promise that they would cut $1.2 billion, reducing that to $1.6 billion. And I table, in fact, Madam Speaker, a table of all the schools and the impact that that would have had on schools across Western Australia if Labor had been re-elected. So imagine my surprise, Madam Speaker, imagine my surprise when I heard on the weekend claims by the Shadow Minister that the government was cutting education funding in Western Australia. Under Labor, she would have been right. Under Labor, Western Australia would have cut funding. Under the Coalition, on the other hand, Madam Speaker, she is wrong. We are putting $120 million more into Western Australia over the forward estimates for schools funding. But I don't blame the Shadow Minister, Madam Speaker. She's right to be confused. She'd probably be confused because I've heard similar claims from the Leader of the Opposition. He too has said that he was putting $2.8 billion into schools funding when he was actually putting $1.6 billion into schools funding. It's like he says he's against the mining tax, but he votes not to repeal it in Canberra. He says he's against rising cost of living, but he votes against the carbon tax being repealed in Canberra because, Madam Speaker, the Leader of the Opposition is the Mr Potato Head of Australian politics. He's the Mr Potato Head. You can put whatever face you like.
The member will resume his seat. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order. The Minister will resume his seat. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. If this is an example of the adults being in charge, the Minister should be sat down.
That is no point of order, and the Manager of Opposition Business will not misuse the standing orders, or he will leave the chamber. The Minister for Education has the
Madam
call.
Speaker, I'm sorry if it offends the Leader of the Opposition to be referred to as Mr Potato Head, and I'm happy to withdraw the illusion. Perhaps you'll be happy with the illusion of Hugo, the man of 1,000 faces, which those of us from 1975 would remember very fondly.
The member for Grayndler.
Madam Speaker, how is it that, given the Manager of Opposition Business's point of order—
Which was not a point of order.
It was a point of order.
It was not a point of order.
It was
the member
a point
will
of
resume
order.
his seat and will not argue with the chair. The member will resume his seat. Then state it.
Well, if he sits down, I'll state it.
The Minister will sit down. The member for Grayndler.
65.
Good for you. The member for Leader of Opposition, the Minister for Education will continue. The Leader of the Opposition.
Madam Speaker, you are casting this House into disrepute when you allow him to carry on.
The Leader of the Opposition will withdraw those remarks or leave the chamber.
I will withdraw, and that's what you should make this side of the House do.
The Leader of the Opposition will withdraw unconditionally.
I withdraw unconditionally.
Now, the Leader of the House and Minister for Education will withdraw.
And I've already withdrawn. I've already withdrawn. I said I withdraw unconditionally. And perhaps if the Leader of the Opposition doesn't like the illusion—
The Minister for Education has the call.
If he doesn't like the illusion, he can go back further in time to 1975 with Hugo, the man of 1,000 faces. There was another one that you could add any face you like to.
The Minister will return to the question.
And over that side of the House,
The Minister will resume his seat. The Manager of Opposition Business on a point of order.
Madam Speaker, I raise the most fundamental of all the points of order, which is your role in preserving the dignity of this House, and ask you to do so.
Yes, well, it would help if there was dignity on both sides of the House. The Minister has the call.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The minister will resume his seat.
Point of order, Madam Speaker. Is that your argument, that you take the reference to your participation based on the debate you see before you?
The manager of opposition business will resume his seat. The Minister for Education has the call.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And I'm trying to put into context, Madam Speaker, that the problem with the Leader of the Opposition is that he has one position depending on whatever audience he's talking to. Wherever he is in Australia, he has a different position. Whatever audience he's talking to, he has a different position. Because he's no longer the faceless man of Australian politics, Madam Speaker. He's the two-faced man of Australian politics. He has a different position wherever he is in the country. And, Madam Speaker, he needs to show some substance.
The Minister will resume his seat, and if the member for Grangler is going to raise argument instead of a straight point of order, he will resume his seat.
I'm raising a straight point of order, Madam Speaker, about members being addressed by their name.
Correct.
And you should uphold that.
Indeed, I do. And that sounds like a reflection on the chair, and you'll withdraw it. Withdraw the reflection on the chair.
You've got it.
It was a point of order. What was the reflection, Madam Speaker?
The reflection you made went about the chair.
I didn't make a reflection, Madam Speaker. I said
the member will resume his seat.